Do you remember the day Pearl Harbor happened?
Yes, I remember where I was. My mother and father, my father was in the garage working on his car, my mother was in the garden, and I was in the kitchen fixing something to eat or getting a glass of water, I don't remember which, and the radio was on in the kitchen. And I heard the news, and I ran outside and screamed to my mother and father that the Japanese had invaded Pearl Harbor and that we were at war. That was horrendous. And we also had some blackout days, where we had to cover our windows with blackout curtains. We had ration books. There was a lot of spam consumed. Oh, good Lord. A lot of that. And but as I say, kids aren't that aware. I mean, it was hard maybe for the parents, I'm sure, to try and get enough food on the table and keep on. But we were not terribly affected by it, as I recall.
Did you know anybody who was called up to service or who?
Well, a lot of boys in high school were. They were older, the older boys, and so I didn't know them well, but they were called up, and there is a memorial, monument in Devendorf Park with the names of the Carmel High School and Carmel boys who were killed in World War II.
Do you remember if there were any changes in terms of what happened on the beach or anything like that during the war?
Well, I don't recall that at all.
Okay.
I don't recall. I had a friend, Janet Strasburger, who lived in a lovely home on Carmel Point, and I would visit her, and my girlfriends and I would go down and visit with her, and she had a Japanese maid, or the family did, and I remember the maid rolling up balls of aluminum foil. Now, the maid would gather any scraps, like the foil, from gum wrappings, or the foil from any kind of foil she could find, and she would shape them into balls, sort of like big softball-sized balls, and those would all be shipped back to Japan, because Japan was lacking in steel and iron and metal, so they were used for munitions. But I remember this is before Pearl Harbor, but I remember her doing that.
Do you
There was this wonderful family, the Miyamoto family, and they owned the Cypress Garden Nursery in Monterey. My mother would go there and buy plants for the garden. Well, before we really knew them, they were all interned, at that camp in Arizona or in Nevada. That was a very sad day for the Japanese families in Monterey and Carmel. Very sad day. And Yukio, the father, the husband, joined the army, and he became one of the very, very brave members of the Japanese unit that fought so valiantly in World War II. They were sent over to rescue some servicemen trapped in a forest in France. And they came out, not a soul killed, I don't believe. No, none of the trapped men were killed, and maybe only one or two of the Japanese unit, but they were very brave, very smart, and very successful. They were heroes.
Do you remember the day that the war ended?
The day the war ended, I'm just trying to remember where I was. I don't remember, isn't that odd? I don't remember where I was the day the war ended.
Was there a big celebration? It's okay.
Well, I think everybody was overjoyed. I don't remember a celebration other than just giving thanks of joy and being absolutely so relieved that the killing was over. And little did we know we'd start getting into another war very soon after that. I want to make a correction. Earlier I was talking about that wonderful Japanese family that owned Cypress Garden Nursery and how Yukio and joined the special Japanese unit. I gave the last name as Miyamoto. The last name was Sumida, Yukio Sumida. And there was, of course, a wonderful Japanese family in Carmel. They were truck farmers. Their name was Miyamoto, and I wanted to make that correction. I was speaking about Sumida.
Okay, perfect.